Why is housing so expensive? What actually caused the supply-demand effect of housing for most young people? Just, are you even considering it? Has it almost fallen out of consideration? Has it lowered on your priorities? Because it seems nearly unattainable when I look at the numbers. I'm gonna walk through the garden while we do this. Some tomatoes, getting ready. I talk to people that are under the age of, say, 30, 32, and if they do not already own a home, I gotta say, the mindset at the very least is grim. The mindset is grim because I'm hearing things like, I've given up on it, it's just not on my bucket list, there's just no hope. There's no hope. If that's you, let me know, by the way, and if you do have hope, tell me why. Maybe you recently bought a house, maybe you're an anomaly, but I see the numbers too. And the numbers say that you, if you feel this way, are probably in the majority. You know, when I look and see numbers that say that 30-year-olds, or those under the age of 30, only 1 in 8 of them right now are married with a house. And if that number isn't alarming, it used to be 50% like a decade ago. Ooh, the cukes really get a lot of water from the last storm, and it was super, super hot. Got a lot of cukes. So who made housing expensive? Okay, so let's talk about immigrants and let's talk about investors. Immigrants came into this country in a large quantity, still unverified because different sources will tell you different numbers. They'll say anywhere between 6 and 10 million, okay? I've heard less, I've heard more. It's just 6, 10 million. There it is, 10 million. Not all of them, are unskilled labor that are coming from, let's say, Mexico. Some are H-1B1s. Some are coming for tech positions. Some won't join the labor force altogether. In fact, a third never will. So, call that good, call that bad. It's just the numbers. Oh, look at this cuke. Oh, she's ready. Oh, look at that. Nice. That's a two-hander. But the problem still remains, supply and demand-wise, the base of economics. Really, all economic questions. Supply and demand. Ooh, there we are. Pulling weeds. When you add more people to a labor force, you're pushing down wages because you're restricting the amount of total jobs available to the people who are already there. And, of course, they need somewhere to live. Now, are they buying up $400,000 homes? No, but they're going somewhere. Whether in slumlord properties, corporate rentals, or coming together as families to even purchase properties in cash. It happens. It's a low percentage, but it happens. Let's talk about the other eye, investors. A lot of people look at the boogeyman, BlackRock, Blackstone, immediately. Though they do own about 1.2% of properties nationwide, it's nowhere close to the 30%, 40%, 50% numbers I hear often. And if they do, they own it under some other guise. And that guise hasn't been proven. I haven't seen documentation. I've seen theory, conspiracy, and good theory, but nothing in writing. So knowing that, I see other numbers that show that investors are still buying 1 out of every 3 homes available to the housing market. So what does that mean? Well, a number that used to be as low as 10% back in 2010 has now skyrocketed up to 32%. 32% of homes in America are purchased by people with plans to profit. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you that the properties aren't going to the people who are going to make lives, make memories, build a community. They're going to people who want cash flow. And right now, that cash flow means they're also charging high rent costs because they want to make the best ROI. Not all, but most. And so you have high cost rentals mixed with a low supply of affordable housing because investors don't buy expensive homes. They buy cheap homes, either to flip, rent, or flip and rent. The Burr method, okay? I've worked in real estate 10 years. I've watched these dynamics happen. I've watched investors pick up their 10th Airbnb. I've watched corporations buy up their 100th. I've watched them buy up entire apartment complexes. There's a build-to-rent neighborhood going up right down the road. The reason housing got expensive is a few-fold. One, we printed a shit ton of money in 2020, about $4 trillion. Canteen effects as assets are going to go up in price simply because rich people, when they get more money, they buy more assets, and there's less of them already, so of course that squeezes the price up. Second, we had extremely low rates, historic low rates post-2020, meaning you really just needed $42K a year to be able to afford getting into a normal house in America, and that was significant. It led to a lot of demand. Simultaneously, staying in the supply-demand formula in 2020, what else happened? When people found out that there was a virus walking around, do you think people were more or less inclined to put their home on the market and let a bunch of strangers walk through it? They were less inclined. So we had less supply. All while people could get a mortgage. And by the way, if you don't want to watch this while I'm gardening, I just did a full podcast on this. Little promo. Sorry. But I work hard on those. So does our team. So if you want to give it a listen, put it on the background, put it on the gym, commute. We work hard on those podcasts. On why is housing expensive? And if we look at investors and we look at the... Sorry, let me get this last weed. So I said it. You don't want to listen to this. If we look at investors buying up properties or buying up the affordable housing, A, they're charging higher rents to make a better ROI, most of them, B. And the real problem with it is when rates went up, they didn't stop buying, but the regular everyday person does, with the lowest rate of first-time home buyer purchases nearly of all time. In just the last 3 years, I think 2 years, it's been all-time lows. So the only reason it wasn't an all-time low this year is because last year was. Here's the point I'm trying to make. Inflation, via money printing. We printed about $4 trillion into the market. Low rates, we created a low rate environment that allowed for people to speculate and purchase assets because they had extra money and they could finance money cheaply. And 3, once all that conglomerated into what we now messed it up. I stopped gardening. I tried to focus on this. Oh, a little spider jumping around. The next issue, the biggest issue, probably, is wages didn't go up. And when wages didn't go up, what that meant is that the people on the top side of the K who could leverage the assets that they already had, stay with me. The people who could leverage the assets that they already had, create new debt simply, they were making it great. They could purchase more assets. They weren't as reliant on the system or in need of lower costs. They were close to retired if not doing well already. So when wages didn't go up, it didn't affect them too much. In fact, a lot of them grew their businesses, grew their assets, grew their retirement plans, bought more property. So we're in a K-shaped economy that has wage suppression, inflation from money printing, and frankly, a government that just doesn't give a damn. They don't give a damn about the future of inflation. They don't give a damn about what they're doing to our dollar. They don't give a damn about how the banking system and the usury model and the fractional reserve lending system is just consistently and constantly creating a weaker and weaker environment on a house of cards of debt and stock buybacks. People just want housing and healthcare, live a normal everyday life without having to always worry about this stuff or think about if AI and robotics are going to take over the workforce for their kids. Grow a garden if you can. Doing my best here. Here's my chicken noodle. She always goes through the yard. I'm not going to dox myself. She always goes through the yard and then comes through the fence to come over and garden with me. Let's say goodbye to Noodle. Say bye, Noodle. That's a good noodle. That's a good noodle. Get it? Chicken noodle.